This is Two Ladies Most Adventures. I'm Jenny, and I'm going to be reading Part 3 of The Incredible Escape of John Surratt. Witchman furnished the authorists with a striking verbal portrait of Surratt. John Surratt is about 6 feet high, with very prominent forehead, a very large nose, and sunken eyes. He has a goatee and long hair, if of a light color. Photographs agree with Witchman's portrayal of the subject, set in a lean, triangular countenance. Surratt's features were singular enough for ready recognition. Yet he slipped through the federal dragnet as though his face were invisible. At least 8 witnesses would subsequently swear to seeing Surratt in Washington during the daylight hours of April 14th. He himself would declare he spent the night of April 14th in New York. Exactly how and when had he got there? There are blanks in the record. It would be assumed that he left Washington on a 6 p.m. train for Baltimore and points north, a train carrying General and Miss Grant. He had been assigned to assassinate Grant on the train. There is no proof. Story has it that someone tried to enter Grant's car that night and found the vestibule door locked and guarded. Again, no proof. No witnesses could be found to testify. The Surratt's presence on the train, the rumored attempt to assassinate Grant, boiled down to supposition. But if John Surratt was on the 6 p.m. out of Washington, he might have reached New York on Saturday morning, April 15th. However, in mid-morning of that gloomy day, a man walked into a clothing store in Elmira, New York, to buy a shirt. At least he ostensibly walked in to buy a shirt. The Elmira merchant had reason to remember this customer. The stranger wore April of a fortune cut, and in this small town above the Poconos on the New York-Pennsylvania border, a foreigner created notice. The merchant, who had just heard the news of Lincoln's death, made some comment on the tragedy. Whereat the customer snarled from retort like old Abe had it comin', and stalked out of the store. The innocent 2 years later, the merchant swore the memorable customer was John H. Surratt. Perhaps the stranger in Elmira was John Harrison Surratt. A man apparently answered Surratt's description arrived in Canandaigua, New York, a day's junket from Elmira that Saturday evening entering the Webster Hotel. This traveler registered as John Harrison. The stranger did not remain long in the resort town. At the head of the Figure Lakes region on Easter Sunday, 1865, the darkest in the nation's history, Canada was draped in mourning. The stranger went to the early service at St. Mary's Church. Then he left town. Afterwards, no one could say whether he departed by rail or high road. But natives recalled that this traveler had inquired about the fastest means of reaching Rochester, New York. He had asked also about the boat service from Port Chevrolet at the mouth of the Genesee River, where a steamer made regular runs across the lake. Ontario, the Cobourg, Canada. The boat, however, was not running on that fateful Easter day. If John Harrison were John Harrison's surratt, he must have been thoroughly armed when he learned of the closure of his anterior escape route. Evidence suggests this Harrison at Canada, England, may not have been the fugitive in question. Visiting Canada long afterward, federal detectives found the Harrison signature But John Surratt later stated he did go to the Elmira on Street mission involving the possible release of Confederate war prisoners held in the military prison there, but he had never disclosed the route he took in going from the Figure Lakes region. Moreover, under the circumstances, it could hardly have been as dangerous an exit as circumstances. It could hardly have been as dangerous an exit as the Vermont border town. Nevertheless, Surratt headed for St. Albans, unnoticed. He reached that distant frontier depot on April 18th, 4 days after the deadly assassination. Drama in Washington. One would think that by the date St. Albans would have been sealed off against civilian travelers who did not carry military passes or special identification tags. Both had not yet been captured, and the federal authorities had every reason to believe the assassin and his henchmen would try to escape. In Confederate underground. In fact, at 9:40 in the morning of April 15th, Brigadier General N.I. Jeffers had dispatched to the border stations following wire by order of Secretary of War. It is believed that the assassins of President and Secretary Seward are attempting to escape to Canada. You will make a careful and thorough examination of all persons attempting to cross from the United States to Canada, and will arrest all suspicious persons. A description of the parties supposed to be implicated in the murder will be telegraphed you today, but in the meantime, be active in preventing the crossing of any suspicious persons. At first glance, the above reads like a meaningful directive. At second, it conveys little more information than the frantic ringing of an alarm bell. The dispatch mentions assassins, but it names no names. Suspicious persons. Who are they? Sources of travelers cross the Canadian border daily? The telegram promises a follow-up description of the parties supposed to be implicated, but no detailed description was ever sent to the border stations. 11 hours after the telegram from General Jeffers' assistant, War Secretary Charles A. Dana telegraphed to the Hon-E-G. Splendid of Buffalo a sketchy description of John Wilkes Booth, and a rough description of roustabout Azrod. Dana identified Surratt as Seward assassinate at 9:00 p.m. That Saturday evening. The assassinate War Secretary telegraphed descriptions of Adroth to the police sheriffs, Baltimore, New York, Philadelphia, and other northern cities. Both was not mentioned in this wire. And again, Azroth was named as Seward's assassinate. John H. Surratt was neither named nor described in any of the foregoing dispatches. According to the official records, the War Department never did flash his name to the border stations. On Easter Sunday, the 16th, Secret Service Chef Lavitte C. Baker stepped into the Washington scene. He had been summoned from New York to confer with sanitation, who placed him station what had been done toward the capture of the assassins, and ascertained that no direct clue even had been obtained beyond the simple conceded fact that J. Wilkes Booth was the assassin of the president. If the Secret Service chief were actually thus informed, or perhaps left uninformed, the War Department's manhunt operation had certainly jammed in low gear, while Baker was never meant noticed, which he caused to be printed in and circularized on April 17th, advertising a 30,000 reward. The police flyer contains a second 3-line description of Booth and devotes 10 lines to most malicious description of person who attempted to assassinate the Hon. William H. Seward. Concerning the latter, it offers such mute detail as upper lip protruded when he talked, and wore a sack overcoat, pockets in the side, and one a line concerning John H. Surratt. The Lewis plane himself was caught at Miss Surratt's door on the evening of the 17th. The Army police at once arrested Miss Surratt under grueling interrogation. She protested that her son had gone to Canada. Meanwhile, military detectives searched the house from cellar to attic, listing such combines as I Picture John Wilkes Booth, Valentine's contending sun-dry portraits, album act books, and a needle partially threaded. Detectives who would not miss such a jackstraw, as the last would certainly portray an accurate neighborhood description of the missing John Surratt. And I'm going to stop it there because that is 15 minutes. And so like and subscribe so we can get to 1,000 subscribers so we can start beekeeping.